Hello and welcome. Today we're going to be working on this Shimano DX XT M730 shifter. I've got both of these shifters and we're going to be doing a part 1 and part 2. Not much different to the later XT shifter, the M732. The only difference I can tell is the cap and the fact that this was advertised for as 6-speed initially, whilst the M732 in 1988-89 I think was 7-speed. So we're going to dismantle this completely and give it a good cleaning. I think what we want to do first is potentially undo the tension in the spring, so we're going to put that to the maximum. Next, underneath here there's a number 5 bolt to remove. Put that to one side, and now we can remove that from its mount. We're going to want to remove the top cap, and there's a small screw on the interior Phillips, so you're going to want to go inside and unscrew it. Very unfortunately, some of these can be broken. The where this screws into the top cap, they can break, unfortunately. Same with these little bits here. Once they're broken, it's finished and you'll have to find a replacement. So try and take that off gently. So when I say gently, the reason being this part here can be quite fragile. You'd want to avoid breaking it, obviously, because once that's broken, then you'll have this ugly part that's going to be exposed. This one's quite rusty, as you can tell. I'm going to put mine back into the mount, and the reason being, just when we're going to unscrew the nut on the top, I don't want the spring to untension itself. So this is going to be coming off the number 10 right here nut clockwise. There's a spacer in between that helps lock the nut in place. There's now going to be this plate I believe is used for the when you're moving between friction and index. It locks the plates. Next plate, and we can keep going. Take off this one now. There's a seal right there. 2 small ball bearings. We can remove those. There's a small little spacer there on the top of this ring. There's a ring to take off there. I'm using a knife to make this a little bit easier. We're now going to have access to that spring, so you can pop this plate off, and that's holding it. So we have the first one. Mine doesn't seem to want to come off, so we're going to just unscrew this now. Ah, okay. I didn't notice that before. There's actually a tooth that was holding that in place and stopping it from moving off. So by turning it a little bit and then pushing down, it's worked. It's come off. There you go. So we've got the spring. It's so dirty inside. And there's a copper seal washer that was wrapped around there. Okay, so I'm going to now clean all the parts. I'm going to rub off some of that old rust on these rings. That's no doubt causing quite a lot of friction. And then we can put it back together. I'm going to use some thin sandpaper to sand down the old rust. I've just given everything a clean. I'm fairly satisfied with the result. We're going to use some grease now on the parts. I'm going to be using my Shimano premium grease, but I prefer the Motor X1 in relative, well, at least relative to the quality price. But I'm going to use this because I kind of want to finish it. You can use any one that you need though. Any kind of lithium based grease I think should suffice on this application. You want to apply some grease on any of the parts that have friction. Grab the main part of the bottom plate and the pivot. There's this copper ring that's going to insert on the top, and you'll want to push that down. And that's going to go underneath here. Just to point out, you'll see right there, and so this little tab part that's sticking out, that's acting like a stopper, and it's actually going to be stopping against these parts here from there to there, roughly. So if you turn it, you'll see it stops, and then the other way it'll stop as well. I'm going to screw mine back onto the mount, and I'm going to try and put it into the position where I took it off. I think, where was it? No, a bit further. I think it was in this position. So it's stopping just here. Oops. I'm going to put mine back onto the mount. Now I believe when I took mine off, that was roughly in this position. Yeah, I think I was roughly in this position, and this is where it's stopping. And I'm going to screw it back on. And that will keep the main central part here in place. Let's put that spring back in. It looks fairly symmetrical on both sides, so I don't think it's going to make much of a difference which way you put it in. There's a hole at the back, so we're going to put one of the tips inside there. You want that properly engaged. Yeah. Now we're going to need to tension up that spring, and at the same time we're going to need to engage the teeth into the correct position with this top plate. So the other tip of the spring, I'm trying to capture it on light there, it's going to go into that hole, and you'll notice that in the center here, the hole of this plate, there's two teeth on both sides. Those two teeth are going to need to engage onto the holes here and here, and you'll also notice there's another further 4 teeth underneath. two large and smaller ones. So the two large ones need to go here, left and right, and then the smaller ones on the top. So to do this, we're going to need to use a plier. So first we're going to put the plate down. We're going to put the tip of that spring into the that hole, and then I'm going to use this pin plier because there's not much room to work on here. I'm going to turn this around until it engages into the teeth, and you can see there it's engaging. It's a little bit hard. Hold on, I'm going to try it one more time. Not helping that I've greased everything. There you go. It's engaged, and now you can let go. Next we have this plate where the ball bearings seat in. There's one bigger hole right there on the right, and so that tip, that spring's going to go through that hole. Let's stick that in. Make sure that's all nice and seated. We now have this ring. My one has two little dents on both sides. That will be the one that's facing towards us, and so we're going to fit this in. I think it's a little bit slightly beveled here, and there's two teeth on each side here that you need to seat that into. Well, it looks like the dents I'm talking about seem to align with the two furthest holes on both sides. I don't know if that's to indicate or it's got some sort of usage between the friction and the shifting. Maybe it's to do with that. The ball bearing runs there. Now I've got this plate. Again, it's slightly, you'll see there's a slight slant, beveled again. You want to insert that here. Now you'll notice that it's not on any of the holes for the bearings, and that's probably because we went into the secret mystery 7th click where you won't have a clicking sound. I did read, or someone left a comment that you could drill right here an extra hole, which would give you technically an 8-speed shifter. There does appear to be space for that. At least I presume that would be here where you would do that. That will be for another video. So seat that in properly. Let's put the ball bearings now. I've added a bit of grease on where the slots where they go. That will be to obviously lubricate them, and it will also hold them in place. So there's a tiny ring that we're going to put on the top of that, and that's probably to keep this in place. So you want to put a little bit of grease on this plate as well. I've given it a slight thin layer. So we're going to be putting it in like this for now. You can see that between the ring there. I think this is going to be in that position. Next we have this part, so those two tabs here need to be facing upwards towards us anyway. Just to make you understand, I put them on the sides, you see they're going up. Right, next we have these two plates. Now on my one specifically, they have two circles here. I think that's to tell us to point them north. So you're going to put them above each other where there's the two circles, and they should kind of lay flat on each other. And so that where there's that circle, you're going to be laying them let me check now, I can't remember. No, where there's a circle, you want them to be facing the other way around. So there you go, we've laid that flat. Now we can put that lock ring on the top. So this will be screwing on now anti-clockwise. Grab your number 10 wrench and start to turn it. So you're going to want this tight but not too tight. Be very careful, you can break the that main axle. So you can test this. Let me check now. So there you go, it's kind of clicking, but see it's going up, so maybe just a tiny bit more. You want it to be staying in place, put simply. When you're clicking this, if it starts to go up on its own, it's that this is not tight enough. You obviously don't want to tighten it too much though, like I said, because you can actually potentially break. I'm going to do a tiny bit more until I'm pretty much satisfied with that. That looks good to me. So now I forgot to say, there's a seal that's going to go over here. There's a space there for that little lever that flickers between the shifting and the index. So make sure that's nice and seated. Once you're satisfied with that, we're going to put now the cap back on, so we can remove the bolt at the back. So it should be quite obvious where this goes. But I mean, we just had it now in friction mode. Sorry, in index mode. So just look at where the lever is, where it says SIS and F. That's good to me. Let's run that screw through. So screw backwards until you engage the threading in the plastic. You don't want to damage that plastic anymore. And that looks good to me. Put that back in the mount, so you have that little pointy arrow which kind of indicates what options to have. So I'm guessing it was what is it? Like that, like this, or like that. Okay, so just check that's all working again. 1, 2, 3. Mine's working really good. And let's check if that's all good in friction. Yeah. Well, it's globally much better. I can see straight away the lot less friction, even though we're in friction mode. So thank you for listening. Stay tuned for part 2, which will be on the left side. We'll also be doing an updated version of the M730 at a further stage, perhaps soon. If you want to go a bit further, actually, you can definitely polish this metallic part here, which will give it a really nice, lovely finish. I also have repainted these before with a bit of black spray paint. Yeah, it works. So until next time, thank you for listening. Peace out.